Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to today's program. Today I am with pharmacist Abraham. So today basically I want to talk to you about potassium chloride. So in this context we'll be looking at it from the treatment of hypokalemia. So my focus today is simply on calculation, how to calculate the dose, potassium dose for the patient, and how do you administer the drug, and what are the things that you need to looking out when this drug is being administered. So before we go to the full detail of this video, let's just look at roughly about what is potassium basically. So potassium is a cation. Okay, it's a positively charged ion. That is important. This potassium basically is more inside the cells, an intracellular cation. When you think of potassium, think of it as a bag of potassium. Simply, it's more inside the cells. So potassium is more inside the cells. So potassium, that's why it is more inside the cells. Potassium is important in the body. It has got many functions in the body, and its levels must be kept within the normal. So it has many functions. One of the things that potassium does in the body is what we call contraction of cardiac muscles, skeletal muscles, and also smooth muscles. So its contraction of the muscles depends on potassium. And also potassium also has other functions, like what it does basically that it activates many enzymatic reactions in the body. So potassium is necessary in the body for activation of enzymes. It's also involved in actually a lump of things like in what we call cellular activities, and also transmission of what we call impulses. So impulse transmission is also important in that. Another reason also it needs, basically it's also a potent, or rather it's a good stabilizer of cells. So potassium has important functions in the body, starting from metabolic functions and also contraction functions, muscle functions. It has very important functions. It controls the cardiac muscles, so it's a very good electrolyte that we need to look at today. Let's talk about what is a hypokalemia. When you say hypokalemia, what do we mean? So what is the normal potassium value for the patient in the body? So potassium value, of course, the normal value begins from 3.5. So this is millimoles per liter to 5.0. So of course other books might just indicate something, but this is the normal range for potassium in the body. It must be kept in this range for the body and for all other functions that are just stated to go well and to function normally. So the value for potassium must be in this range. So what we mean when we say hypokalemia, what do we mean? So hypokalemia basically is defined as reduced serum potassium. We look at serum potassium. This is serum potassium. Inside the cells, there are more potassium, of course, but this is the range in the blood, that's in the serum. This is the range of the serum. So when we say hypokalemia, we mean less than 3.5, that is serum potassium of less than 3.5 per liter. So this is hypokalemia. It's classified as moderate, and also there's what called mild, moderate, and severe. So when we say mild, basically, mild we are looking at the values range of course is whereby 3.5 here, okay? But then it's not, so it's just up maybe up to, let's say I would say 3.0 to 3.5 millimoles per liter. This is going to be our mild. And then moderate, of course, you see values, of course, less than 3. So here we'll find that we can talk about 2.5 here into 3.0 millimoles per liter. This is categorized as the moderate hypokalemia. So this is moderate, and for severe, severe in this category, you see the values less than what? 2.5 millimoles per liter. This is severe hypokalemia. Hypokalemia is a very lethal, it's a very difficult, actually it's a dangerous or emergency condition that requires proper, because people might die to cardiac arrhythmias. That's our worry. Cardiac arrhythmias is what are concerning to this aspect when it comes to hypokalemia. Potassium is important for, as we said, cardiac contraction of muscles and smooth muscles. It's very important. Vital muscles that are involved in breathing, they're all controlled under this potassium electrolyte. So when it comes to this hypokalemia as severe aspect, so when it comes, this is what you need to know. Now we talked about the overall aspect. Now look at also what we call the treatment itself. So before I go to treatment first, we'll look at the things that can cause hypokalemia. What are the things that can cause hypokalemia? So there are many things that can cause somebody to have low potassium in the blood. One of the things is what we call vomiting itself, and vomiting and diarrhea. This can really cause loss of a lot of potassium and other things that can lead to potassium loss is also what we call conditions like DKA, okay, acidosis itself, because those conditions, they're able to shift potassium inside the cells. So potassium can leave the plasma to inside to the cells. Those such conditions which can cause the shift of potassium can lead to hypokalemia. Other things can lead to that, also renal dysfunctions, condition of renal dysfunction, and also chronic illnesses. Someone who is chronically ill and debilitated, that can result to reduced potassiums in the patient like that. So potassium, I said, requirements is very important every day, so must in the normal range for proper functioning of the cells. So let's talk about now in this range, how do you treatment, how do you treat? What do you use? There are different salts that we use for treatment of potassium in the body, correction of potassium. There's what we call potassium acetate, potassium chloride. These are salts, gluconates, potassium gluconates, chloride. These are all salts that contains potassium element. So we can use these salts to correct the hypokalemia in a patient. So the most what I'll talk about today, the common one which we use as an injection form and also as oral form, is potassium chloride. So we'll look at this today. Potassium chloride as a common salt that is used to correct hypokalemia. So ladies and gentlemen, let me just echo here. So between moderate and mild and to moderate, you can use oral form of correction. If the patient absorption parameters are okay, you can simply use the oral forms of potassium chloride. There are tablets that they come in tablets, release form, and also immediate release. Those tablets can be used to treat the moderate to severe, mild to moderate hypokalemia. But in case of severe, the oral ones are useless. So you go for injection in this context. So let's look at that now. So how do you give potassium in a patient? So the formula now, how do you calculate the hypokalemia? Let's say this is a patient that comes in, they have what we call hypokalemia. So how do you calculate the deficit? So we use a formula to calculate the deficit for the patient. So this is how we calculate the formula. It goes like this. So total potassium requirement for the patient. So total potassium needed, in this case I use needed for the patient, is equal to potassium deficit. This is potassium deficit for the patient plus daily potassium requirement for a normal human or for a patient. So this is the simple formula. I'm going to say it again. So total potassium needed to correct the patient hypokalemia, that is low potassium, in 24 hours is equal to patient potassium deficit plus daily potassium requirement. How do we find the deficit for the patient? So here, I'll break down here. So deficit is equal to, what we do is normal potassium minus patient potassium times the weight of the patient in kgs times the factor. Okay, this can be, we use the factor, so the factor here. So this is for deficit only. The deficit is equal to what? Normal potassium of the patient minus the minus patient value. So this is normal value minus patient potassium value, and then also times the kg and times the factor. So here's the thing. The normal value here, we use two forms. There is what we can use 3.5 or we can use 4 millimoles per liter. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If we're using 3.5 millimoles per liter, our factor here becomes smaller here. We'll use 0.4 here as a factor. Okay, we can use 0.6 as a factor if we're using 4 millimoles per liter. So this is what it is. So normal value in this case, assuming about the patient X, this patient, the potassium value is, let's say, 1.8 millimoles per liter. Okay, this patient value, of course, is in that aspect. So what we do here in this case, we just put patient value. Here we're going to do 4 millimoles per liter minus patient value, in this case 1.8 millimoles per liter. And this, we say this patient, maybe this patient is weight 60 kgs. Okay, so we're going to multiply this one times the weight of the patient, which is 60 kgs, then times the factor. In this case, we're using 4, so here would be 0.1, 0.6 would be our factor then. So if we get this value for the patient, we're going to get our 4. So what we get here is 2.2 2.2 times 60 here times 0.6. Okay, so this is going to be, we're going to multiply it by 60. Okay, you get our 132 times 0.6. Okay, so this gives us what? So you see, this gives me 79.2 millimoles per liter of this is millimoles just potassium. This is what the deficit potassium. So this patient requires how many? So this patient deficit for this patient to bring it to that normal, which is 4 in this case, as our normal here, is 79.2 millimoles of potassium. That's what we need for this patient. Then, as I said, deficit, of course, here, this is just total potassium we need is what? Deficit plus daily potassium requirement. So how do you come up with a daily potassium requirement for the patient? So daily potassium requirement is just here simple. I write it here, so you see. So daily potassium requirement for every human being requires 1 to 2 millimoles per liter times the weight of that person. So this is how the daily potassium requirements I need. So if my weight is 60 kg, it's either 1 times 60 or 2 times 60. That's what I require every day. So in this case, I'll use just 1. So this patient, our patient weighs how many? Our patient weighs 60 kg. So I'm just going to multiply 1 times 60. This patient requires how many? 60 millimoles as this patient's daily potassium requirement. So what I'm doing simply, I'm just going to add here plus 60 millimoles here. So our answer we found earlier here, which is we found 79.2. We are adding plus 60. We are getting 139. Let's just make it 140. So this patient requires how many? 140 millimoles of potassium in 24 hours to bring the potassium levels of this patient to normal levels. So this patient requires how many? 140 millimoles of potassium. That's what this patient requires. So what we do in this case now, since we have that one now, how do you give the drug for the patient? This is what I want you to understand. That's the most important part. How do you give? Because each valve, in this case, this patient, of course, value, as we say, is 1.8, which is less than, this is severe hypokalemia. So in this case, we'll use injection. The oral ones will be useless in this context. So the way we give this drug, potassium chloride, of course, what we give is that we don't have to give it at the rapid infusion, as in too much like running. We have to, there's a rate at which we need to follow it. We shouldn't exceed 20 millimoles per liter per hour. So when we're giving this drug, we shouldn't exceed 20 millimoles per hour. We should not actually exceed this rate at which the drug is running, 20 millimoles per hour. That should be our rate at which we should be giving the patient this one. So we need to give the patient how many? 140 millimoles of potassium. This is what this patient requires, 140. And the injection, of course, we have injection counts, of course, 20 millimole of potassium. So you need about, if you divide this one by 20, you can able to get 6, maybe about somewhere there ampules. So we just get 140 divided by 20, you're getting 7 ampules that you need to give. Now, how do you give the drug? So basically, the rate at which the drug must land is usually you get 40 millimoles of potassium, which must be added in. That is per 1 liter. That is what they like adding. They like using this ratio. Okay, this is simply 1 millimole of potassium to how many? To 25 mils of whatever. In this case, we use normal saline. You can use the Ringer's bracket or normal saline. So you can use normal saline in this context aspect. So what you do in this case, how do you give this drug? So what you do basically, you can get, this is 140, okay, and then I want to know at what rate I should run. So if you want to get 60, you can get half of it. The best way to do is to get not a lot of it. You can get 140. So in this case, what you can do basically in this patient, you can get 60 millimoles of the drug. You can get 60 millimoles of potassium chloride, in this case, millimoles, and dissolve these 60 millimoles in 1 liter. If it's severe hypokalemia and there's percent risk, you can use 1 liter here, so which is 1,000 mils of normal saline. Okay? Then you make sure this one runs at least for 4 hours in the case you are setting up where you don't have monitoring aspect. But if you want to calculate the rate, what you do basically here, the rate, you can do the rate for the patient. For example, as I said, that the best way to do is that in per hour, we must deliver how many? 20 millimoles of potassium must be going per hour. That's what I said initially. So what we need to do is if we dissolve this one into this one, So we have here 60 millimoles of potassium into 1000 normal saline. Okay. So what this is a solution of mate. This one is equal to is the same as. So what you can do, you can make this in easy terms. But I show you so that you can see this is the same as 0.06 millimoles per ml, per 1 ml. So 1 ml contains, so this is 1 ml in this context contains how many? 0.6 that's 0.06 millimoles of potassium in this what we've just made here. Now if you want to give how many 20 millimoles per hour. So you just put your 20 millimoles here, 20 millimoles of this one must go in per hour. How many mils is equal to this one? So you just count the number of mils there. So what you do basically, you're doing your 20 divided by 0.06, which is giving me to 33. That is 333 mils. So what it means basically here that this patient, if you want to deliver the drug for this patient at the rate of 20 millimoles per hour, we shouldn't exceed that rate, right, as I said earlier, because this can cause serious arrhythmias. And because this drug requires monitoring, like we use ECG and the serial potassium measurements. So in this context, what it means in this patient, we are delivering 20 millimoles of the drug per 1 hour. So that is equivalent to what? 333 millimoles. Okay, so sorry, 333 mils. Okay, so if I get the 60 milligram, which is 3 ampules of potassium chloride injection, I dissolve that ampule into 1,000 mils of normal saline to deliver the drug at 20 millimoles per hour. I have to be giving how many? Every hour the patient must get how many volume? 333 mils of normal saline per what? Per hour. That means I'm delivering the drug at the right rate. Now, in the cases, if you are a nurse in the ward, you want to know how many drops you should deliver the drug. How many drops? How do you do that? Because there are different calibration of syringes, of course, calibers that you use in the ward, the burettes. The others, of course, the most common one, of course, there is this one, which is 15 to 20 drops, equivalent to what? To 1 ml. Okay, so these are different common ones they use, of course, in the ward. So if you have this one, each burette has got its rainbow on it. You can see that's 15, others 20 drops is equal to 1 ml. So what you can do basically here, you can equate here for the patient to find out how many drops should I be giving this patient to run in this rate aspect per minute. So you can look at the drop rate now in this case. So let me just do it from here. So we assume that so we say 1 ml is equal to 20 drops. That's what we use, 20 drops here. So in this case, we have got how many? 333. That one is per hour. So that's the number of mils per hour. So let's bring it down per minute if you want. So because the next one we had. So what we do basically, this 333 mils is in 1 hour. So what you do basically say 333 is equal to 60 minutes. What about if we are giving it in 1 minute? So you simply just dividing x here. So what you divide basically is the 333 divided by 60. So this is the same as what? 5.55 that's mils, okay, per 1 minute. This is a minute mils now. I've just divided that we found here now I've made them into minutes, into a minute. How many mils in minutes? So what we do basically here, we know that 1 ml, so we have got a burette that we have in the ward that is delivering the drug at the rate of 1 ml is equal to 20 drops. So in this case, we've got how many? 5.55 mils. How many drops are we having there? This is just going to give us, so this one I have answer times 20. This gives how many? 100, and so this is 101, this 111 drops per minute. So that's outcome with interest to the patient. So what it means here, basically, let me break it down. Treatment of potassium chloride, of course, using the injection drug. The injection drug is quite dangerous to use, and it can cause different severe reactions to the patient, especially side effects like cardiac arrhythmias. That's our concern. So the best way to give it is to give it at a rate not to exceed that. It shouldn't deliver more than 20 millimoles per hour to the patient. So if we found a good dose for the patient, in this case, patient found a 1 deficit, we can start with a 60 millimoles of potassium given as BD. Then, so meaning that the first dose gets in, has to run for at least 4 hours. Then we can give another one later on. Then the other one can be given at least 24 hours. This odd dose must be given for the patient to bring the patient potassium levels to the normal aspect. So what I did here basically is that I got 60 millimoles of potassium, dissolved it into how many? 1,000 millimoles of 1,000 milliliters, which is 1 liter of normal saline. So that gave me this ratio 0.06 millimoles in 1 ml. So this what I had there. So what I did here, I found how many meals should I deliver in this patient per hour if I want to deliver the drug at the rate of 20 millimoles per hour. So we found that we need how many? 333 meals of the solution that we just made. Okay. So when a patient receives that, that one must run in 1 hour to deliver the drug, to deliver 20 millimoles of potassium to the patient. Then I came here to bring it to a minute. So this is same as each minute the patient is getting how many? Should get 5.55 meals each minute. That's a meals the patient get each minute. Then I came here to say, since we want to make it in a drops rate so that it becomes easier for the nurse to monitor the drug. So we say if 1 meal, this is just the variety which is not deliver the drug to the patient, and the rate at 1 meal is equal to 20 drops. So we said, what about 5.55? How many drops can we get per minute? It gave us 111 drops per minute is what the patient will drug will run. So this is how we can. So this is since this one is per hour, that's 20 millimoles. So we have how many there? So we've got 3 hours to run the drug here. So this we're going to run the drug for 3 hours because we're using how many? 60 millimoles. So and each hour we're using how many? 20 millimoles per hour. So that gives how many? 3 hours to run the drug for this patient. And this is how you go about the administration of potassium chloride. So this is how ends the first part of the video. See you next time on the other side.
Take the drama out of minor illnesses. For expert advice, consult your pharmacist.